What's up, guys? I wanted to come on here tonight to talk with you all about budget 1911 pistols. Now, for the YouTube censors, we're not trying to sell anything or anything like that. We're just basically doing some comparisons of a few budget 1911 pistols. Now, there are a few things that I want to point out because I think that we're seeing a resurgence in the 1911. It is one that is not going away. I mean, it's been around for over 100 years, and if anything, it's basically just innovations. We've seen a lot of stuff come out, especially in the 2011 market and all that, that has really revolutionized things, but at the same time, it has retained the original design for overall. They're basically double stack 1911s, but they function pretty much the same as they did decades ago. And a couple of the ones that I wanted to look at, the first one is one that I've not had out in a while. That is my Taurus PT 1911. You guys can see it here. Full disclosure for all you safety Sallies, they've all been safety checked. Okay, we're good to go. This is one that I have had for several years. In fact, I will leave a link somewhere, a card up here, to all of these guns to where you can go over and check out the range reviews of them. And the reason that I wanted to bring out my Taurus, I'm just trying to move my mic into a little bit better position, is I wanted to point out some of the features that are on this gun that you would typically see on much more expensive firearms. One of those things is front strap checkering. You do not see that much on what would be considered budget firearms. It's typically on many more of the higher end where you would see that front strap checkering, especially in this price range. You also will see some of the front slide serrations as well as the rear slide serrations. And unlike the original design, which we're going to look at here in a bit, or I should say an older version of the design, these sights are actually replaceable. You can actually see that they're dovetailed in on this particular model. And, Taurus has got, I guess you could say, a mixed review as far as quality. There are certainly several of their guns that have not had the best when it comes to the 1911, but then there are others that have been flawless. This one included in that. I mean, I have had a lot of rounds through this gun and have not really had any issues. This is basically just one of the examples that I wanted to look at. Now, if we go back to another revolutionary, and I say revolutionary because it's one of those budget firearms that come along that really opened it up to where more people could get into the 1911 game, and that is Rock Island. This is, I guess you could say, one of those classics that does not have a lot of frills, but at the same time, it does have a few very nice features that go along with it. Now, the grips that you see on this, you can see there, Psalm 144 verse 1. These grips I got from a shop on Etsy. Unfortunately, they are no longer operating. I've had a lot of folks that have asked me about these. I wish they were, because I'd actually like to get a couple more sets from them. But this gun, as you can see, it does not necessarily have the same type of front strap checkering that the Taurus did. It does not have the front slide serrations. It does have the rear slide serrations, and the sights are dovetailed as well, but you do get that big beaver tail. You also get the memory bump and so on. And again, this is one of those guns that is considered a budget 1911, and it opened up a lot of room for people that were unfamiliar with the 1911 to be able to get into the game without spending an absolute fortune, because there are some models out there that are insanely expensive, as you all are very well aware. But the Rock Island is one that I'll have to say, even though it is made over in the Philippines, for the most part, these guns are reliable. They are a sound firearm. They have shown that they can be reliable, and regardless of the manufacturer, if you don't have a good magazine in a 1911, you're not going to have a reliable gun, period. I don't care how expensive of a gun that you have. You can have a many $1,000 custom handmade 1911, and if you put a bad magazine in it, that gun's not going to be reliable. That's all that can be said about that. Another one that I wanted to look at is, it's one that I guess you could say that's been out for a while, but it's really catching the game, and that is Tisas. This is my Tisas 1911 A1. And I actually, back a couple of years ago, when they were coming back from SHOT Show, was able to talk to Jared. And one of the things that Tisas has done with this particular model, or I should say a very similar model, it's basically this gun with some different markings. They actually started manufacturing firearms for the CMP, the Civilian Marksmanship Program. And I've got a video where I talk about that I'll leave a card to it up here to where you guys can go check that out. Tisas has really upped the game as far as what they are doing with 1911s. This one in particular goes back to the traditional 1911 A1. You do have that curved backstrap that was on those guns, all the way up to the fact that you can get some hammer bite from this gun. If you grip it, if you have a high grip, which I tend to like a high grip on any gun that I'm shooting, when that hammer comes back, as you can see there, the meat of my hand, I can get just a little bit of hammer bite with this gun, with the way that I grip it. That is, again, going back to how this gun was many years ago, and it did lead to some innovations. In fact, one of those big innovations was that extended beaver tail that you can see on the others. But again, if you like the traditional, the old style World War II era, and there's no telling how many reenactors have this setting in their holsters right now, this is what you're going to get. This is what you will see. And I'll have to say, all of these are fun guns to shoot. Mine have all been fairly reliable, but again, it goes back to your magazines. If you use a cheap magazine, they're not going to be reliable. And I have actually had magazines fail. Regardless of what I try to run them in, I have actually had a couple of magazines that would not perform the way that they need to. That's something to always remember when you're talking about any 1911. It's a classic, I'll have to say. You know, it is one of those guns that it is a shooter's gun. Part of the shooting sports, at least for me. Sometimes, you know, like I've talked about in other videos, the 1911 does need a break-in period. You're not always going to get optimum performance out of these guns right out of the box. But if you spend the time, if you're in firearms, you like tinkering around with things, you can really get these things to run much smoother than you think. I mean, it's just, there again, part of the fun, or at least for me. But guys, I just wanted to come on here, talk about these guns, and I'm going to leave links to the range reviews for each of these up in the cards. You've probably already seen some of those in the videos. Guys, hope you liked the video. Be sure to check out the range videos. Thanks for watching. Check out the rest of the videos on my channel. Leave me a comment down below, and we'll see you next time.